So let's start off with the first question, which is a very basic question. Give us a layman's definition of what GBV or gender-based violence is.
So I think it's becoming a broader, for a very, very long time, gender-based violence only spoke to violence against women. I think we've broadened that now. It's violence against men, women, and children, as I mentioned a few seconds ago. And it's any type of violence, because it's not just, it is now, when we look at the nature of violence, we're talking about mental, physical, emotional, sexual, financial type of violence against an individual. And we're seeing growing numbers, with regards to this. I think for a long time, many people still assume when you talk about GBV, it's just the physical aspects of it. And we're seeing that more and more people that are mentally, emotionally, and affected by GBV that have longer lasting effects as well. I've had a number of cases where victims would say to me, I think I'm better off when my partner beats me versus the things he says to me, because that seems to last a lifetime. And the fact that we're doing a comparison between a physical hurt and a mental hurt, I mean, both of those are devastating. And the fact that someone is saying, I'd rather have the physical versus the mental, I mean, that alone tells you what it does to a person's psyche. So when we talk about GBV, we're talking about all of these things, and it now becomes a spectrum of things. And I think we need to make people aware that it's not just about the physical aspects of it. There's the mental, emotional, the social aspects of it that need to be taken into consideration as well.
Okay, no, I think that's very broad, and obviously there are some, just using as a self-defense instructor and training, there are a lot of the times I deal with mainly the physical aspects of it, which is in some cases a criminal offense. Whether you're raping or assaulting someone, that can be a criminal offense. But something more like on an emotional or a psychological level, that's kind of harder to prove and actually be convicted of a crime. So hence it becomes a bit more of an issue, yet it is still classified as GBV.
Correct, it is. And I think in many instances with victims of GBV, where it is emotional and psychological, it becomes a lot more difficult, as you said, to try and prove it in court. And more often than not, you'd hear people say, but her husband's amazing, he's such a good guy, and he would never do anything. Because you try to explain to somebody, but do you know, my partner does this, and it can never be, he's the good guy, and I think she's just overreacting, and a lot of women need to know their place, and men are allowed to raise their voices, and those type of stereotypes have carried through. So when you talk about emotional abuse, and especially with an older generation, the idea of emotional abuse just does not exist for them, because that is seen as normal. It's a way of life, and we say no, it's not. You should not be in a relationship where somebody puts you down, or where you feel that because somebody does something for you, that you got to reciprocate it with subservience. Because somebody puts a roof over your head or is able to provide food for you and your kids, therefore you have to be subservient to whatever it is their requests are. And that is emotional abuse, or the fear that what if I speak up, or if I say something, then I'll be left without a home, or how do I take care of my kids? And that fear that surrounds abuse, physical, emotional, and mental, it's there. Every aspect of abuse has fear associated with it. And the reason it exists is because people are fearful enough not to move out or remove themselves from the situation. And we have to empower ourselves as individuals to say, do I deserve this? Because for me it is, how much do I respect myself? How much do I love myself to say that I deserve better than what is happening right now? Or how much do I love my children? Because a lot of times there are children that are involved in this. And what do we teach our children when they are privy to this type of behavior? Are we telling our sons and daughters that it's okay when you're in a relationship to treat somebody in that fashion, or have somebody treat you in that fashion? Because I've seen my parents or my grandparents, and it continues from generation to generation. And we want to break that cycle, and we want to say to people, we need to be able to get out of that. And the way we do that is by empowering ourselves. And in a lot of instances, women will tell you, but I'm not brave. Yes, you are brave. You are brave, and you have to be brave. You have to be brave for yourself, and you've got to be brave for your kids to be able to, extricate yourself from that situation. And in situations where you cannot, that's where all of these groups like Warriors of Light and SA Women Fight Back is an awesome group that I work with. But you have groups like that are working flat out. They have their day jobs, and still after hours we're still dealing with cases, and we try and help each other out and get through it. So what we're saying is that as hard as it is, you are not alone. It may be difficult and it may be scary, but we cannot help you unless you want to be helped.